is Dan, and this is SLAYsmr, an ASMR channel where I talk about a horror movie that I love every week. A new horror movie. Not a new movie that just came out, but a different horror movie every week. It would be weird if I talked about the same horror movie every week. Like if I just did Halloween every single week. Thank you once again to those who are returning to the channel, and thank you to those who are new to the channel. I'm guessing most of you are probably returning, hopefully returning. I'm not sure. So, on the very first episode, I mentioned how the first scary movie I can ever remember seeing was Nightbreed, written and directed by Clive Barker, based on his novel Cabal. And I realized that's actually not true. I was watching that show, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, which is the HBO documentary adaptation of Michelle McNamara's book about the Golden State Killer. I read it a couple years ago. It was very good. And my wife is super into true crime, really loves Michelle McNamara, all that good stuff. So she's been watching the documentary HBO miniseries, and I was kind of in and out of it. I think it was the first episode. It shows footage from Creature from the Black Lagoon, which apparently was a movie that Michelle McNamara liked a lot. And I'm not sure quite what the context is in the show. I think they're maybe comparing her to Julia Adams' character in the movie and getting stalked by the creature. I'm not sure exactly, but I do know that at least one of these episodes ended with footage from Creature from the Black Lagoon. And I remembered how much I loved that movie. And I also remembered how that is the first scary movie I saw in full as a child. I was 5 years old. Like most of the movies I saw, my dad loved it. And ever since I was born, since I can remember, I actually had this little glow-in-the-dark action figure of the creature. And I had always known that the action figure was a figure of this monster from the Universal monster movies called Creature from the Black Lagoon, but I didn't really know much beyond that. And then when I was 5, my dad bought me the VHS. We were living at the time in Huntington, Pennsylvania, and the VHS was funny because it showed Julia Adams, who plays Kay in the movie. It showed her kind of panicking on the beach, and then the creature rising out of the water on the front VHS cover. But the funny thing was, the creature was like way bigger than he is in the movie. And I think that was a common trope on old movie posters and VHS boxes that they took the killer or the monster, whoever the villain was in the movie, and they made them like 50 feet tall on it, and then they would make the humans really small. Which, if you watch the movie, the creature's tall, but he's not that much taller than a human. So it gave me this false misconception when I saw the box and saw this creature. I thought that he was supposed to be really big, much bigger than my tiny little glow-in-the-dark action figure I've made him out to be. But yeah, my parents let me watch the movie when I was 5 years old. I think also because it's very much a PG horror movie. It's not violent, it's violent, but it's not graphic like a lot of the films we're going to be talking about on here. Definitely not as graphic as Scream, which we talked about last week. Halloween actually isn't that graphic in terms of violence, but it's definitely more disturbing than Creature. Creature is just kind of a classic. I don't want to call it a B movie, because I actually think it's more iconic than that, and it's very much in the pantheon of Universal classic monsters. So Dracula, the Wolfman, Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Bride of Frankenstein. But at the same time, I almost feel like it's a lesser known one. Don't get me wrong, the creature is really famous and everything, but I don't know if most people, that's not true. I mean, a lot of people know about it, but I don't know if as as many people know about it as an archetype as they do Dracula, Mummy, etc. Because it never really had a place in literature. The gillman, this kind of amphibious creature who can both breathe on land and then breathe underwater. And if you think about it, it's pretty specific. Apparently, the screenwriter traced it back to these stories of fish people living in the Amazon, so it's not like it didn't have a greater, older sense of lore like a lot of these other creatures did, but it wasn't based on a famous novel. The Mummy wasn't either, I guess, but, you know, I think King Tut and just the idea of mummification, I think that had been in the popular lexicon for a while, so the creature, to me, felt like, I'm talking like I was around when the movie came out, and I wasn't, but if I'm just giving my kind of BS surface level analysis, the creature, to me, the gillman, felt like it was truly introduced with this 1954 film, whereas with the other monsters, there just seemed to be so much more history behind it. And I would argue that most people probably knew what Dracula was or who Dracula was before the movie came out. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. And as such, it's no surprise that of all the classic Universal monsters, the creature has the fewest number of films devoted to it. And in fact, it's I think it's toward the end of the Universal Classic Monsters era. They have Creature from the Black Lagoon, Revenge of the Creature Walks Among Us. And I think those were maybe even the last 3 films of that golden age for Universal monster movies. As you can see, I have a pretty cool action figure behind me of the creature in the film, and then I have this little guy here. Well, hold on up to the camera. This was this series of they made like wrestling action figures out of the Universal monsters. So this is the crazy creature, and yeah, this is 2000. I remember getting this back in 2000, and I had a second copy of it that my dad actually took off the head and made it into a keychain for me. So yeah, I've had this for a while. I feel like I should start doing like tapping noises or something, but I don't really know how to do that. I think I can whisper pretty well. I think my whisper sounds alright. I don't know if I don't know if I have the tapping skills of Raffy Taffy or Maddie Tinkles or any of those people, or gentle whispering. Here, let me see. I mean, it's not bad. It's kind of vague though, not very specific. Maybe the creature's head is better. Yeah, nothing. It doesn't sound that good to me. If it sounds great to you guys, let me know. But I'm gonna put the crazy wrestling creature down now. Okay, that definitely wasn't pleasant. So I'll work on my tapping skills as this show goes on. But yeah, so I saw the creature from Black Lagoon when I was 5 and was immediately enthralled by it. The basic rundown of the movie is that there is an archaeologist, Dr. Maya, who's in the Amazon rainforest, and he's on the Amazon looking for fossils or rocks or something, and he finds this claw that's kind of sticking out of a rock formation, has webbed talons and webbed hands. He brings it back to his lab, and they deduce that it might be some kind of missing link from, I don't know, fish to men or whatever it is. And so they start to explore. Of course, it doesn't go well for them. They essentially end up invading the creature's habitat in the Black Lagoon, searching for remains of this monster, and then they actually find the real thing. And they kind of have to contend with the creature once it traps them in the lagoon. Of course, like a lot of good monster movies, the monster is kind of the good guy. I don't know if the movie necessarily frames the creature as being completely good, but in my mind, the creature is an animal. They're invading its habitat. It tries to defend itself, and then it gets lonely. It kind of fixates on Kay, who is the woman in the group, which I can understand. This creature's species has been obliterated. And then they just keep on focusing on killing it until they finally do. Well, they kill it, but of course there are sequels. Anyway, my point being is I rarely root for the humans in these kinds of movies, especially too because all the humans are these kind of 1950s cardboard cutout characters. I don't know how much of that is by design or how much of that is just a result of funny 50s style acting. It's not that cheesy. Like, the actors are pretty good in this, but it's not like you're watching the Godfather films or something. The two main guys in the movie, Mark and David. David is Kay's, I think, fiance, and is a scientist, and he wants to capture the creature alive or just study it in its natural habitat, whereas Mark wants to kill it, which is, once again, these are classic archetypes of a lot of different horror movies. If you think about Twister, Bill Paxton in Twister, he has that wonderful line that's about Cary Elwes' character that goes, he's in it for the money, not the science, which is super funny to me, because most scientists I know are in it for the science. I don't know a lot of greed-hungry scientists, but anyway, so Mark and David are the two kind of opposing forces, and it's so funny to me because the actors who play them, they look exactly the same to me, except one of them has blonde hair and one of them has darker hair. I mean, they talk the same, they act the same. It just kind of cracks me up when they're on screen, and to me that's a testament to the human characters almost being secondary in this movie. Once again, I'm not trying to disparage the performances. That was the acting style at the time, and once again, in any of these Universal monster movies, the draw is the monster, right? It's not the goofy humans. I think it's not a coincidence that a lot of the attacks happen in the movie when the humans are having these kind of boring conversations and these boring conflicts. The monster will that's when the creature's able to get on the boat and go after him. It happens like 3 times in the movie, and it's really funny to me. Like, they'll just be kind of jawing about science or how the night looks, and then this awesome looking creature comes onto the boat and goes after them. Like many people, when I first saw this movie, I was so arrested by the underwater sequences, which they actually filmed in Florida, I think in Wakulla Springs, which is in near Tallahassee, where I went to undergrad at Florida State. And then apparently they filmed some of it in Jacksonville at the foot of this bridge that is no longer around. And yeah, just even today, when underwater photography is not the novelty that it was back in 1954, there's something so enchanting about the underwater scenes when we see the creature emerge from the seaweed below and fixate on Kay or go after Mark and David. It almost feels like a different movie compared to the above water stuff. I think it's because the above water stuff is very snappy and very it's hard to imitate the 1950s acting style when I'm whispering, but it's very like, oh hey, yeah, that sounds awful. It's that very, look, see here, yeah, like, I have no idea if that's registering or not, but so you have this kind of fast-paced, very cardboard acting style, and then you go below water where there's no dialogue, and it looks like outer space. Everything is kind of seen through this haze, and everything moves in slow motion, and then this creature emerges from the seaweed. And something I've always loved about the monster in this film is that underwater, you can't see its eyes. It's almost like its eyes are sunken in. It's completely dark. And then above water has these really striking, very alert kind of eyes. And I don't know how many of you out there have gone scuba diving before, or even snorkeling. I haven't. And when you go scuba diving, that first moment you go under the water, it really is like this other world opening up to you. Something I think about is when sharks, for instance, if you're on a boat and you view a shark from above the water, so you're on the boat and maybe you're watching it go after some chum, or just thrash around. It looks so chaotic. But then if you view the same thing from below water, it actually looks really majestic and beautiful, and it's not moving any slower. It's just seen through this filter of liquid, so it feels like a dream, which kind of makes it scary because, of course, the shark can still eat you or attack you, or any creature you encounter underwater, like any creature period, has the potential to cause you harm. But underwater, you almost wouldn't think it. Like if you see a barracuda floating by you, swimming by you, it looks like it's floating, and it looks like it's some kind of angel or something. I don't know. Just like underwater, it doesn't look dangerous until it becomes dangerous. And to me, that this movie just embodies that aesthetic so well, and it never gets old. There are a bunch of great underwater sequences in this. When the creature finally kills Mark, who's the jerky guy, it was just like David, just blonde. When the creature kills Mark, that's almost the apex of that aesthetic. Like I think it's the only underwater death or attack in the movie. Everything, all the other bad stuff happens above water. But once again, it's this beautiful scuba diving sequence. You see the creature go after Mark, and even him swimming after Mark is actually very majestic until it goes after Mark, and then it gets very thrashing and violent, but not quite as thrashing and violent as it would look above water. I have no idea if that makes sense to any of you, but that's why I really love this movie, and when I think about scary movies and how they differentiate themselves from one another, they all have to have a gimmick, right? In Halloween, I talked about the gimmick being the periphery, the fact that Michael Myers is always in the background, he's always in the corner of the screen, that kind of lack of a jump scare, the minimalist element of it all. And with Scream, we talked about how the Ghostface killer in the movie is using a costume that was very popular in the United States at the time, so it feels very common, it feels right in our own backyard. And then Scream, I would argue, has this whole meta thing going on that maybe doesn't make it scary, but it makes it different. And with Creature, what makes this film different is the underwater scenes, which, once again, at the time were very revolutionary and hadn't really been seen before. And of course, the creature design, which we need to credit that to milicentpatrick, who was, I think, a Disney animator or a Disney illustrator. And she actually did not get the credit she deserved for designing the creature early on. Her boss did. She did most of the work and did the design. I mean, there's pictures of her, drawing this thing and with the mask and all that. And I guess when they went on tour, her boss, you know what, I'm not even gonna say his name because he hasn't deserved the credit. He got jealous of her and the attention she was getting. So for years, like decades apparently, she did not get credit. This other guy did, which is a real shame, I think. And I think it had a really negative effect on both her career and her mental well-being. But I don't want to get into too many depressing things here. The point being, milicentpatrick, Disney illustrator, awesome, designed what I think is the coolest looking of the Universal monsters, and I love all those movies, but man, you cannot compete without the creature looks. I'm gonna leave the big guy up there, but I'll get my little wrestling guy again. Even though he's got funny red pants with like tassels, fringe. Is that what that's called? Fringe on the back. The face is pretty much what the creature looks like in the movie. And so you can see all these gills on his head. One of my favorite things about the gills in the movie is that when the creature is above water and approaching people, or they capture him at one point, he's kind of in this grate in the boat, you see the gills actually moving like this, and you see his mouth going like he's getting air. And at the end of the day, right, it is kind of a rubber suit, but the fact that the gills animate, that to me puts a cut above so many other cheesier monster movies from that time period. And I know I'm not the first person to say this. I think it's a kind of a cliche film nerd thing to say, but sometimes you really just want that suit, that really cool looking suit over the fancy CGI. I feel like it's such a tired, worn out old person argument almost. It's like, oh no, because there's something actually there. I don't care if it looks good or not, but I think it really is true for certain movies. I am by no means anti-CGI. I think CGI has been used to really great effect in a ton of awesome, scary movies. The Host, the South Korean horror movie, I love the CGI in that movie. I think it works perfectly. But for something like Creature, I really do love that it's a guy in a suit, right? Because it's supposed to be related to us. According to the movie, it's supposed to be this link to humanity. So if we wanted to move like a human, it's going to look a lot more human if it's a human playing it just in this suit, especially for those underwater scenes. So huge props to milicentpatrick, and there are two different guys who play the creature. One of them does the underwater stunts and the other does the above ground. I'm blanking on their names. I should have had that in front of me. I feel like I'm being a bad film buff. It's weird when people call themselves film buffs, but bad movie person right now. Yeah, so I had not watched this movie in a long time, and my wife agreed to watch it with me because I saw that clip on I'll Be Gone in the Dark, and I don't know if she was as taken by the movie as I am, but she really did like the monster effects and the underwater scenes, and I hadn't looked at it in a while, so I wasn't sure if it was going to hold up, but it really does. There's not the thing where you can see the zipper in the back or anything like that, or in the Godzilla movies, which I also love, but in Godzilla you can always see the suit kind of smushing in when Godzilla gets hit, or when he bends his claws. It looks like fabric, you know. The creature from Black Lagoon does not look like that to me. Apparently the suit, that's also because the suit was really tight and almost a little bit constricting when it came to movements that weren't swimming and walking. So the guy who played the creature above ground, I think he had to go hours and hours without sitting because the suit was so constricting. But once again, it looks like his skin. It's so form-fitting. I think that's one of its greatest strengths. I'm really surprised they haven't done a proper remake of the film yet. When I first saw previews for The Shape of Water, and before they really showed what the creature looked like, I was convinced that it was either going to be Guillermo del Toro's Creature from Black Lagoon movie, which he had talked about making for a while, but I think it got taken away from him, or just didn't work out. Or I thought it was going to be a Hellboy spin-off about the character Abe Sapien, because the creature in The Shape of Water looks a lot like him. But it wasn't either of those things. It really was just its own thing. Although Guillermo del Toro, I think, has said that Creature from the Black Lagoon obviously has a huge influence on The Shape of Water. I think he stated it as this is what would have happened if the romance had worked out between the creature and Kay. I don't know if I would call it a romance, though. I know that's the popular thing to say, like, oh, King Kong is a romance, the Creature from the Black Lagoon is a romance, but it feels very one-sided. Like, at the end of the day, I don't think Kay in the movie is all that thrilled about being kidnapped by the creature and taken to his underwater lair. And they don't really show scenes of them bonding or anything. It's not like King Kong does a little bit of that, I guess. Like, oh, King Kong is protective of her, so maybe there's a little bit of connection there. But with Creature, he takes Kay, and then he gets gunned down pretty fast after that, and it's all pretty horrific. I think it garners some sympathy for the creature because you see he's not actually trying to kill all these people. He kills some of them because he has to, but at the end of the day, his home was invaded. He's lonely. He wants a mate, so that's why he's fixated on Kay. I think that garners sympathy, but when I look at it, I'm not like, oh yeah, she's in love with him. Like, I don't get any of that from Julie Adams' performance. I don't think we're supposed to either. She seems happily engaged to David, and I just don't see her running away with the slimy gillman from the Amazon. But once again, I get where the idea comes from, and I love The Shape of Water, so I'm happy Guillermo del Toro had that idea. I'm wondering if I should do the sequels at some point for this podcast. I remember not liking them quite as much. I think they have a lot more of a B-movie quality about them. The third one in particular, The Creature Walks Among Us, is about the creature lives and gets damaged in a fire, from what I remember, and his gills like burn away. So they discover a pair of dormant lungs in his chest. So he was using the gills to breathe both air and water, but he actually has these lungs that become the dominant organ when the gills go away. And as a result, they try and make the creature into a man, into a human. They make him wear clothes, and he looks a little bit more human because the gills are gone. I mean, I don't remember hating it as a kid, but I remember thinking it was a little goofy. The creature having these kind of weird tan like leather clothes on. But I don't know. I think when October comes up, I'm going to rewatch all the Universal classic monster movies that I love, and the ones I haven't seen as well. So who knows? Maybe we'll get around to more of that. Something I've been thinking about is this movie actually scary? It scared me as a little kid because I was a little kid and it was a monster, right? But is it scary by today's standards? And I think it is. Like all the stuff of the creature just kind of emerging from the water is really creepy to me, because I think things emerging from the deep are creepy. There's some really great shots where the creature walks past the porthole of the boat and you just see his legs outside the window. I think that's creepy. When they have the creature captured on the boat beneath the grate, you just see him doing the and his eyes, blazing, or like kind of blazing through it. That looks creepy to me. But I don't know if when I go to bed, if I'm scared of the creature necessarily. I think it's more of a beautiful movie than a downright horrific movie, and that's why I continue to love it. A movie where I love the title character, the creature, and I'm almost fascinated by him, enthralled by him. I don't know if I'm scared by him the same way I am with Michael Myers. So I think it holds up, but maybe for different reasons than when I was a little kid. When I was a little kid, like I said, I think I thought it was actually scary. Now I think it's more of a majestic kind of movie. Although sometimes I don't know if y'all are like this, but sometimes I do like to think about, I mean, I guess the creature's not in the ocean, but just water in general. So really deep rivers, the ocean, whatever it is. And I'm sitting in this room right now with books and toys and whatever. And I love to think that at the same time I'm doing this, in the ocean, in the lakes and the rivers, there's all this life under there. Like right now, as I'm doing this, there are huge sharks swimming around. And if we go really, really deep, like deeper than humans have ever gone, there are probably things swimming around that I don't even know what. And they're humongous. What if the megalodon is still around? What if, as I'm doing this ASMR video in my jean jacket in the comfort of my home, there's a shark that's 100 feet long swimming near the Earth's core. I don't know how deep the ocean goes. I don't know the science of any of that. The point being, there's so much life that we don't know about. Life that would probably seem pretty scary to us. All that is taking place right now while we're doing our thing, and I think that's pretty cool. So I guess maybe the creature scares me in that kind of way when I think about the Amazon. I've never been to the Amazon, but when I think about it, I think about all the life swimming around in the Amazon River that I will never know about, and that's going on right now. And there are nightmare creatures down there. I don't want to call them that because I love animals. I don't want people to be against animals just because they're mysterious or different looking than us or have big teeth or whatever, but there are creatures that are right out of our dreams and nightmares existing right now in the ocean, in the water, while we're doing whatever we're doing, trying to get to sleep, trying to not get anxious about a pandemic, whatever it is. Sorry, my voice went up a little bit. I know I didn't whisper just now, but still getting used to all this. So anyway, I'll way that Creature from the Black Lagoon is scary, the unknown, the animal that is so frightening and different from us, that exists right now, but also is kind of similar to us because it's related to us. And hey, at the end of the day, the creature just wants a friend, right? Right? And isn't that the truth for all of us? Okay, I think that's enough creature talk. Once again, thanks so much for watching. I came up with an intro or an outro the other day, and I meant to write it down. It was something like I don't think it was sweet dreams. That would be weird if I said that too all, but like good sleep, no nightmares. I don't know. I don't remember it now. I'm gonna think of it. I'm gonna have a really, really good outro for you all one of these days. But for now, thank you again for watching. Let me know what you think about Creature from the Black Lagoon in the comments. And once again, if you have any specific movies you want me to talk about, leave those there as well, and maybe I'll get to them. So thank you so much again. Be safe. I hope you're asleep, or at least found this interesting. And I will see you next week. Alright, bye-bye.